beat.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to the Midcard. I am your host, Bams, and joining me, as always, is my co-host, Joey Wrestling. Joey, what's going on?
Not much, man. Yourself?
Not much at all. Kind of a slow weekend wrestling this week.
Yeah, it was definitely definitely kind of felt like having a hangover after Mania, and then the week after Mania, it was very kind of dragged to a degree. But that's
kind
to
of
be
the
expected.
best way to put it. Yeah, that is the best way to put it. They're trying to set up new rivalries, new matches. Takes a little bit of time because you're coming off the biggest show of the year, so
Yeah.
it's to be expected, especially when a lot of the stars aren't even participating in the next event, and you have to build new matches. Like
Yep.
we're not getting what we used to get, and Backlash from WrestleMania was usually the rematches.
Not only that, but half the rosters are going to be flip flopped come the end of the month anyway. Actually, next week.
Is it next week?
I think they said it was the 26th and the 30th or whatever that Monday is, trying to capitalize on the NFL draft fervor. So they're doing their own. I think it's a week from today and the following Monday.
That makes sense. I'm looking it up right now. Monday, April 29th, 6:30. That's weird. That's a weird time. 6:30.
Maybe they're doing it pre-Raw. I don't know. I'd have to look into it, but
I wouldn't
thought they
mind
were,
that, actually.
Yeah. Unrelated, but I actually just found out that I'm going to the Patriots draft party at Gillette Stadium. So
Oh, really?
yeah, I have an in. So I will be there getting my Sony Michel jersey autographed. Hopefully, we'll see if he's there. So
He might be there. You never know. All right, so let's
Yeah.
jump into it. Raw, kind of slow, obviously. It starts off with Rhea Ripley
this
and
sucked.
kind of some sad news.
Yeah.
This women's division's in a good position, but it would have been better, obviously, if she was in it.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
it's nothing. It doesn't suck in the terms of like, oh no, who's gonna take the title now?
Right.
It just sucks in the realm of like, holy hell, was Ray on fire?
Yeah.
And I mean, even like, I mean, watching her cut the promo, I mean, it got me, I had chills almost because she just looked dangerous and so evil. So even in kind of like a lowest point, as a superstar, she was just everything she's doing is just on fire.
Dude, she's one of the biggest stars in WWE, and they're gonna
yeah.
miss her. Like, they're gonna miss her very, very fiercely. It just sucks when somebody gets hurt like this in the middle of a run because she's held the title now over a year.
Mm-hmm.
She was gonna do some amazing things. She was already starting to. Like, she had a year under her belt, and she had some great matches along the way. And I feel like now the women's division's like the best that it's been. And it just would have been nice to have Rhea headline all those matches because that's what we want to see. We want to see her versus Jade. We don't want to see Jade versus somebody else.
Yeah. I do think though that in looking on the bright side, her return and the scorched earth vengeance path that she's going to be on when she comes back is going to be such a great storyline. And I think she's going to be even it's going to I don't want to be, creepy guy saying this, but she's going to be even hotter when she comes back as a superstar. She's going to be, just way more on fire, have way more juice behind her. I think the return is just going to, in her eventual reclamation of the championship, I think is going to have so much juice and so much heat that it's going to write itself. It's going to be a great storyline. And when she does come back, which will probably be SummerSlam-ish, they might hold her out. Depends on if she needs surgery. Which I haven't seen anything either way. It's going to be a hell of a story. So that, I mean, it sucks that she's out, but I think, in the long term, it's going to be great storytelling when she does come back.
This kind of came out of nowhere. Like,
yeah.
I didn't hear anything following Mania right away. I didn't even know last week when she got attacked. I had no idea that this would have been the angle that they were going with here. I mean, I like the idea that it did.
So the injury happened when Liv attacked her. There, at least from the reports, it's when she was thrown into the wall. I guess the angle she came into the wall, probably maybe dislocated the the shoulder a little bit. And at least, as they're saying, it's a sprained AC joint. But if it's sprained, it's got to be a really bad sprain if they're considering, the possibility of surgery. But that's the report, is that it was when Liv threw her into the wall, when Liv attacked her. That's when the injury happened. Maybe it happened at Mania. It is possible, because it does seem a little coincidental that, Liv, who happened to be put out by Rhea, which again, I also think might have been Kay Faber's storyline for another injury that Liv had. It is a little coincidental, but the reporting at least is that it was when she was thrown into the wall, when Liv attacked her, that's when she had the injury to the AC joint.
I didn't know that. I thought it was at Mania. That would, oh man, imagine that a backstage segment just kicks your champion off.
Yeah, that's why supposedly Liv doesn't have any heat backstage for this. It was, they're considering a freak accident. It really could have happened to anybody, but I don't
think Liv is a dangerous wrestler. Like,
I've never seen that either. But it does also, if she's going for a heel run, this is going to give her so much heat with the fans that I think she's the favorite to get the strap now.
Probably. As it sits right now, why not give her a couple months until Rhea comes back?
Yeah. I'm personally hoping that that's gonna go to not Kane, but someone else who is rumored to be returning as well. But I don't know if she'll be back or if she'd be back for that match. Maybe doing something with the Wyatt 6. But I'm hoping that Alexa Bliss is back soon and maybe in that match.
She should be back soon. I've been hearing more and more about her coming back, so it's got to be close to time. They're really good at keeping secrets lately.
Well, a lot of heavy rumors that she's going to be with Bo Dallas and the new Wyatt family.
I kind of like that idea, and only 5 members. I read this. They were only going to have 5 members and then keep the 6th open, obviously, for Bray.
For Bray, yeah.
I love that.
And the speculation on who it could be, too. Eric Rowan had his indie scheduled match over the weekend. I think this coming weekend canceled. Matt Hardy's a free agent, and he's been letting it fly with cryptic tweets, and I watched it.
I heard he's in serious talks with WWE right now.
Really? I have heard he's negotiating between the two, but I personally think if he's got one more run left in him, which I think he does, it's best he comes back to WWE to finish it kind of where it started. That's just me.
If you're going to finish, you want to finish in the biggest, you're going to finish in the biggest arenas and the biggest show in the world. That's not a knock on AEW. WWE is the biggest show in town, and it has been forever. And
possibly in the biggest storyline that WWE will have at the beginning of this year.
Right. How that would be a cool thing to do. So yeah, I heard Rowan, I heard Matt, I heard Alexa Bliss, Bo Dallas, and I didn't know about the 5th yet.
Probably Braun Strowman, because he's supposedly been cleared for a while to return. So as I feel
like they need star power. They need one guy to lead the pack.
I don't know necessarily. I being honest, I get what you're saying. I do feel that while Bo Dallas isn't necessarily a star, the fact that it is Bray's brother and they're carrying on kind of this Wyatt family legacy with this, potential faction, I think it's going to be enough. And
they have to be ready to give him a little bit of a push, though, because he can't come in and just flop right away.
Yeah, but I think the push isn't going to be like a main or mid card. I think the push is going to be, they feud with possibly Bobby Lashley and the Pride, maybe whatever Karrion Kross.
You got to give him one of the straps, though.
Maybe they get
give one of them straps.
Maybe they get new tag team championships.
Maybe
maybe the mid card. I don't think Sammy's dropping the Intercontinental title anytime soon, but I think they'll do what they did with Bray, minus the overly gimmicked, Mountain Dew. Let me see if I can. This hand, Mountain Dew. You can't really see it, but that's a plaque. It's actually I bought it after he passed away because it was still available. Shot at him after winning the Mountain Dew blackout match, which was ridiculous. But go figure. But I don't think they need to be pushed in that regard. I think just
I'm not saying they're going to get the main title push, but they got to get a mid-card title to make that faction legitimate. That's the only way people look at it serious.
Yeah. You're not wrong, but I think I'd like to think in this new era that they will get the time, the creative freedom, and the liberty to do, I think, what they need to do to get over. And regardless, the first few weeks that they're actually on programming and not teased, they're going to be over majorly anyway.
They are. They're going to be over. They got to be careful with this, because you can either make this really good or this can really suck.
Yep.
there's like no in between on this one. Because it's Bray was so creative. It's going to be tough to try to follow his visions because it was wild what he would come up with in like
I'm
the direction he was willing to take it.
Yeah. I'm hoping that it's less like the Uncle Howdy character.
Yeah.
I'm hoping it's less Uncle Howdy and more like a rehash of the Wyatt family. Like Bo Dallas returns to recreate the Wyatt family and to take up the mantle that's been left open by his brother. You know, not to replace him, but to continue the legacy and to continue leading the Fireflies on in the dark time. You know what I mean? Something with that kind of story where, you know, he is Bo Dallas, but maybe he has dreads now and he kind of plays into like, I am Bray's brother and now I'm continuing the family and his honor kind of thing. And they go, you know, in that route. And it's a similar kind of Wyatt family to, you know, when Bray won the WWE championship.
Yeah. No, I agree with that. It's just going to be really interesting to see how they play it all out and what direction they try to go with it. If it even happens, it might not happen. It might all just be talk.
I think at this point, something's happening.
Like,
something's happening.
They're going to have to do something, especially with this Uncle Howdy. Like, what was it? They did the tweets at first, right?
Yeah, so it all
this week.
It really started with the Bray Wyatt Becoming Immortal documentary. Yeah, at the very end, they did like a teaser for Uncle Howdy or for, you know, like for Bo Dallas. You know, they threw in like a cryptic thing. They've been running at the house shows SmackDown last week. At some point, they started playing this really eerie, old-timey music, and the graphics for SmackDown started flickering and glitching and then went black and white, kind of like an old vintage TV with some kind of like snow fuzz in front of it. Yeah. So they've been doing that. There's been the QR codes again, kind of like they did with obviously with Bray when he was coming back the first time when he was coming back is like the Bray Wyatt Fiend character. I think Alexa Bliss has maybe been a little cryptic on social media as well, which has been obviously leading to the speculation. There's been a lot of breadcrumbs. So this is the type of stuff that I love, knowing something's going to happen and just not knowing how or what. This is the stuff that gets me to tune in. Me personally, anyway.
No, I agree. When they keep you on your toes, that's what wrestling is for. It's for the surprises. It's to take you out. It's supposed to be a 2-hour vacation. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, you're not supposed to be suspension of disbelief, right? You're not supposed to. It's not. We know it's not real. Okay, for the people that are like, "Oh, it's real," we know. Okay, every television show isn't real. It's not. Even the reality shows not real. Like, we get it, but like this is the stuff. Like, especially with that character, I just want to know what Uncle Howdy is.
Yeah,
you know I mean? Like, we never got that payoff to find out what it was. Like, we got glimpses of, you know, him showing up, but we have no idea what he does or who he is. Like, it's gonna be fun, man. It could really be a lot of fun. Speaking of comeback, Sheamus came back. How do you feel about Sheamus coming back?
I mean, I'm not a huge fan of Sheamus. I do like Sheamus a lot. I don't necessarily care for him as like a champion. You know, I'd rather not see him as, you know, I'd rather see him as a challenger who loses at this point, just because I've never been high in. I mean, he's obviously main event talent. If I'm watching wrestling, he's not the guy I want carrying, you know, one of the top titles, but this is coming from a Finn Balor fan, so it is what it is. But I hate the fact that he got killed online for being a little doughy. I mean,
dude, he got
murdered, dude. Like, I saw like gifs of him in front of like a McDonald's counter, like stretched out, so it looked like he was like 100 pounds more than he was. Like, holy hell, man! Like, you give this guy a break. Have you seen some of the shit that he's done in the past? I mean, this guy got a little doughy. Maybe he wanted to eat a little bit more than he normally does. Maybe.
But the photos that they're sending out are all doctored.
Yeah, I know. Yeah,
like, because he's not in the best shape we've seen Sheamus in, but he's still not. He's not as big as they're making it sound. Yeah, like, he's still built. Like, he's just got a little extra on him, and he'll lose it now that he's on the road, I'm sure.
And especially with all the shit that's going on too, because he is one of those guys who's been, you know, promoted, you know, his social media accounts, his YouTube, as being like the crazy fitness guy. So I'm sure he's kind of taking it personally too. I haven't seen anything about it, but I'm sure, you know, it's hurting him a little bit.
Sure. I mean, there's only so much you can hear without, you know what I mean, without it getting to you. I'm sure it's annoying. I thought it was hilarious how he went up to the commentary team after.
Yeah.
And he like, he grabbed McAfee. McAfee was like getting choked out. That was hilarious to me. McAfee, man, he continues to shine. on Monday Night Raw. He is so much fun. And it feels like Michael Cole's like at the best he's been too, because he's having fun.
Well,
Like,
exactly. It's, when you think about it, it's not, and I'm just going to point out, I'm going to regret not wearing something red to match the theme. I figured you wouldn't be able to see the Celtic sweatshirt, but apparently the only thing you see is the green stripe. It's bothering the hell out of me. ADHD squirrel. But yeah, realistically, especially with Michael Cole, it comes down to, it was long rumored that when Vince was in charge, constantly Vince was screaming in his ear throughout the whole night. So this guy's probably shitting bricks, sitting on pins and needles, waiting for the next time he's about to get freaked out on because he said belt instead of title, or someone said wrestler instead of superstar, you know what I mean? Or someone worked a little more right than working left.
I hated those Vince rules, honestly.
Yeah, but it's obviously they're allowing more comfort in the way that the matches are being called by the commentary team, and McAfee is clearly a big part of that because he does just kind of let things rip, especially when he was calling Sammy's match and everything like that. We'll get there, but yeah, it's refreshing to just see the guys that you hear talk to you like the entire time, just obviously enjoying what they're doing more.
It makes for a better match. It's definitely a better product all around when they're enjoying it, and it makes it like, even if it's a bad match, if they're being funny, it doesn't suck as bad.
Exactly.
Like, you're not going to change the channel because it's all bad.
And that goes back to why I like Snoop Dogg during the Pride versus the Karrion Kross faction. I always forget what they call themselves now. Yeah. Sometimes you just need someone to kind of carry a slow match,
That's Snoop Dogg. We couldn't have two more different opinions on that.
Yeah, I know. That's the best part.
It's so bad. I tried to rewatch it the other day, and I was like, oh my God, because WWE put up a highlight of it on their Twitter this week. And I was like, this dude, man. I'm just imagining being the wrestler and then watching it back and then being like, come on, man.
Just the random shit he was saying, though, was phenomenal.
Right. He's talking about picnic tables and Boo Boo and Yogi Bear. And I'm like, where is he going with this? But, yeah, speaking of tag, we'll get into the tag team titles. They got a new design. Do you like it?
But I mean, I don't necessarily love them.
Yeah.
But holy hell, are they a million times better than the freaking giant dimes they were giving them before. I'm actually excited to see what the SmackDown titles are going to look like, because I'm assuming they're going to probably look something like the WWE Championship and the women's championship as well. It'll probably be more focused on the W in the middle, as opposed to like the World Heavyweight title design, which I've seen a lot of people kind of give them crap for it, that they're doing like just everything on Raw is the World Heavyweight design, and everyone kind of doesn't like the modified version they did. I like it. I don't think it's awful. I don't think it's the greatest thing that they've done, but it's different. It looks
not
fine.
Their worst designs. They've had
exactly. They're getting rid of their worst designs. Those two titles with the colored straps were, I think, the worst designed titles I've seen since the granted the 24/7 wasn't that long ago either, but it's just awful. It was absolutely awful. And I
absolutely hated the tag title.
Yeah. When I saw that they unveiled
this
them.
This design is nice.
Yeah. I think it looks sharp. Yeah.
I did not like the segment with R-Truth. I felt like it dragged.
Dude, I was just about to say I loved the segment with R-Truth. I thought it was so funny. He kept sitting there going, I know that it's you, Tony Ciampa. Like, and it's not the first time he's done it either, which I think is also great storytelling. That he's
and he calls Ciampa Triple H all the time.
Yeah. And he called him Magic Man. He's like, I know the tricks you're pulling. And Triple H is like, you could see Triple H break a couple times, but then he's still playing like the I'm too tired for this kind of thing. Like, but it was funny watching Triple H break. I thought that was really funny. Like, I mean,
I thought it was funny. Cheesy. I just felt like it went too long.
Yeah, I mean,
I feel like they could have reeled it in a little bit. You could have got the point across in a much shorter segment. You know what I mean? It didn't need to take that much TV time.
Yeah, fair enough. But I mean, I think truthfully, not to, but just realize it's a pun. But truthfully, I think R-Truth and Miz kind of earned that spot and like the kind of length anyway. And like that segment, I think they're veterans. They've been doing it for a while. If you want to give them a little bit of a drawn out segment, I'm okay with it because it was funny for the most part. And they unveiled new championships. I think they were just kind of highlighting that change too.
And that went right into the number one contender match too.
Yes. Which makes me happy.
Does it?
Well, I really want to see DIY win tag team gold in the WWE.
You think they're gonna take it off our truth this year? I don't think anybody is right
They
now.
might. I personally don't think that the Awesome Truth was like a tag team that they're looking to push long term. I think it was kind of
No, I don't think they're gonna be forever, but I think they're gonna get more than just a month.
I don't know. I think DIY might do it. Might pull it off. If the match is going to be set for Backlash, I think that the championships might change hands because I personally, as much as I like R-Truth and like the Miz, I think that it's better for the tag team division to have a real tag team with a lot of history holding the championships, and kind of DIY can be the team that can elevate them to make it more of a not story division, but a more prestigious division than it's been, in the recent few months. So that's kind of where I'm, especially because you got like the A-Town Down Under on SmackDown, which I can't stand. You need a tag team in the division somewhere that can kind of elevate the other tag teams that are going to be challenging. I really think DIY can do it. I love Ciampa and I love Gargano, whatever.
I like DIY. I really
Yeah,
do.
I
I
love that they're
think
back
they're fun
together.
to watch. Their NXT stuff was amazing.
Yep.
And them splitting up was what it was, and we had a good Ciampa heel roll, and like it served
That
its purpose. But them together are just magic in the ring.
that storyline with those two was the beginning of the opening of your eyes of how good Triple H can be as a booker.
Yes.
Because they were a huge tag team. People absolutely love DIY and NXT.
Yeah.
They were pushed to hell.
Oh.
They were tag team champions for a very
They
long time.
main evented a bunch of shows.
Yeah. And then the split was like it was that tag team split that breaks your heart. And it's like the Say It Ain't So Joe, where everyone was just jaws dropped. And
Yeah.
then, Ciampa winning the NXT championship and going into that heel role, and then Gargano fighting for it and being the scrappy underdog and getting his NXT North American championship run. That was great storytelling. I think that DIY was kind of like the beginning of Triple H's coming out party as a great booker, in my opinion.
No, you're absolutely right. Triple H did such a good job with NXT, and especially that storyline, and just a bunch of different storylines that he had through. Like that, we got a glimpse at what we're getting now on Raw, and it's magic. You know what I mean? And SmackDown too.
And just to think, in one night, Vince McMahon destroyed NXT. Like, I loved that, like, All Out Life by Slipknot was the opening for NXT. Because for so long, the WWE, especially like the period I didn't watch, they went away from like metal and rock, and they tried to appeal, which I get, you want to appeal to a wider audience. And I could understand if like maybe SmackDown's got more of like like a rap or a different type of theme, but like NXT, like it was so grit and it was such.
It was their indies.
Yeah, it was just such great wrestling, and it was just such fast and heavy hitting for what it was. The opening was great, the black and gold logo, and then out of nowhere, it's just like here. I think it was like Wale was the opening music. Everything was like color splashed and white back, and it was so bad. I'm going off topic, but NXT got ruined for me for so long once Vince McMahon took it over. And it was all because they lost to AEW. Like, it's all because he freaked out because they put on their development indie brand against, an up and coming huge promotion that Vince took it over and destroyed it even more.
At AEW's like top moments too.
Yeah.
Like where they were actually like putting out good television.
Yeah. Yeah,
Like,
when Moxley was still a big draw, Jericho was a huge draw. I mean, they introduced the TNT Championship, and Cody Rhodes was starting to get over. Kenny Omega wasn't injured. He was wrestling more regularly. The Bucks were not this weird heel EVP thing that they are now. It was very compelling television. Honestly, like Britt Baker's run as a women's champion, her getting over as a heel was one of the best storylines a couple years ago. Like, I'm a huge Britt Baker fan because she did great freaking work when she was the women's champion. And they haven't been, I mean, that's one thing. They haven't been able to come to develop their own women's star since. And in my opinion, it's just, there's, Julia Hart's maybe one of them. But yeah, it was a great time for AEW, and they killed NXT. They really did. And then Vince killed it even more.
He did. He put his hands in it, and then it wasn't good. But then he gave it back to Shawn. You know what I mean? Shawn Michaels ended up getting it with Triple H, and it's kind of turning up again. I don't really watch it as much as I used to.
Yeah, there's
I
not the
don't.
same level of talent
Yeah.
in NXT than there was. Like,
I feel like they haven't been signing as many big names like that, or if they do, they go right to the main roster.
yeah, because it's it's crazy when you think about Seth Rollins and his run and Samoa Joe going to NXT. Like that's insane. And his run as NXT champion, Kevin Owens and Finn Balor's
Samoa
and
Joe's run in NXT, especially against Shinsuke, was unbelievable.
yes, it
That
was. And
was
I
so
mean,
good.
talk about a guy who didn't really belong there. You know,
Right.
he's another guy that I wish got more. I've always wanted him to get a main roster run in the WWE, and it kills me that he's the AEW champion at a time where AEW is probably at its lowest.
Right, because there's no one for him to even go against that's
There's
remotely entertaining.
yeah, the Swerve Strickland feud that he's got going on, I feel has nothing behind it, and
No, because
nothing
no one
against Swerve
cares about
Strickland,
Swerve.
but yeah,
Yeah.
like nothing against him, but I
No.
just he's not a credible threat to me to Samoa Joe. Like knowing this history of Samoa Joe,
Right.
it's
I'm supposed to believe that he's going to beat the monster Samoa Joe.
yeah,
I'm supposed to
it's
believe that.
yeah.
Not buying it. We'll get into some AEW in a minute. Let's finish up with Raw. They had a very dud of a match. Maxine Dupree and Ivy Neal versus Indy Hartwell and Candice LeRae. I didn't care.
I mean, at least I like to see Indy Hartwell
I
get
do
some
like Indy.
shine.
Yeah.
I'm a fan of hers. I was
Yeah.
going to say big fan. I wouldn't say big fan.
I like
And
Indy too.
again, going back to DIY, I mean, Candice LeRae and Indy Hartwell part of the way.
Yep.
Like it's but they're not doing things together, which is whatever. Waiting for Dexter Lumis to pop up again at some point because from my knowledge, he's still with WWE.
They dropped
And
the ball with him so bad. I feel like they had a star.
so I gotta tell you, dude, some of the stuff that him and Indy Hartwell did was so goddamn funny. I need it in my life again.
It was such
Like
a good. I liked Dexter Lumis, and he was good in the ring.
yeah,
He was like really entertaining. I liked him a lot.
His character and his in-ring performance was so good, but I think he was another Vince McMahon casualty, and he's a guy that I think he'll be back
Eventually,
at the right moment. But I mean, I need more of him and Indy in my life. That was that whole shebang was, and even the faux wedding on NXT. Like I'm not really. Sometimes those bits don't do it for me, but god damn, that was so friggin' funny. I loved every second of that stuff.
That was good. That match wasn't that great. Then we had Andrade versus Dominic, and Pat McAfee delivered some of the funniest lines I've ever heard a commentator deliver. Talking about Dominic Mysterio, he called him a dude wipe after you wiped. I listen to Pat I'm a big McAfee fan. I listen to his show all the time. It broke Michael Cole. Michael Cole was cracking up. I love the videos that they do from the commentary table like that. I think those are like awesome when they drop them on social media.
Yeah.
And that moment was perfect with McAfee doing that. Oh my God, he had me dying.
Yeah, he's the perfect person for he's the perfect, because I want to say face, because I think him and Cole are both kind of like face commentators, but typically, usually one's more
McAfee does lead heel though.
A little bit,
yeah.
A little bit, yeah, but I think he's too popular to ever be like Corey Graves plays a good heel commentator, and he's not popular enough where like fans will just be fans and be over him. Like I think he just plays that heel role. But McAfee, nothing he ever does will ever, like, he could say heelish things and he'll still never technically be, in my opinion, a heel commentator because he's just so damn funny. His delivery's fantastic. It's crazy to me that guy was just one of the best punters in football. Like you feel like he should have been, something. I don't know. But the level of stardom that he has does not make sense for a punter in the NFL. But goddamn, is that guy?
I've been watching him. I've been watching him since he signed with Barstool when he retired.
Yeah,
and he did that fake press conference with Greg Olson, Adam Vinatieri, and like all the other Barstool guys, and it was hilarious then. And then he's just like blown up over the last like 4 or 5 years. It's been crazy to watch.
Yeah, the platform,
and he loves WWE.
Yeah. Yeah, the platform he got with ESPN definitely helped as well. And then, his camaraderie with Aaron Rodgers kind of also helps a little bit.
Yeah, that definitely escalated it a lot.
Yeah.
Dude. He did a good job with that. But Andrade ends up winning. Big surprise. Dominic takes another loss, dude. I don't know if that kid's won.
I don't even think it matters, though.
It doesn't. He's going to get the heat.
Yeah, he's so over. in a negative way, they have to put him out there. Like, he is a punching bag, and I mean, it works. You know, it's
It does. It's
it's
great. It
he's
doesn't make any sense, but it works.
and all he had to do was just punch his dad in the face and get arrested at Thanksgiving with Rhea Ripley. I love that on Simon Miller calls him the condom because he's technically he's a convict. They call him condom, and it's just it. Yeah, now that
That's funny.
when you hear it too, you're like, that's actually really
That's
really
fucking
clever.
funny, dude. That yeah, Dom. He just keeps that heat on him. Everybody just keeps booing him. It's
Yeah,
entertaining. Like it's pretty entertaining to watch.
it's almost just like it's like the yes chant. Like it's just that's the gimmick now is that like
Yeah.
people just hate him so much that he gets booed out of the building every time he tries to speak.
And that's all you want is a reaction if you're a wrestler. It doesn't matter
Yeah,
good or bad, as long as they're feeling something for you, you're doing something right.
keeps him on TV.
Yeah, it does, dude. It keeps giving him TV time and matches on TV. Like, even though he's taking losses, it doesn't matter. He's serving his purpose here.
Yep.
And then we go into Caden Carter and Katana Chance versus Piper Niven and Chelsea Green. Another filler match.
At least it's TV time for women that you don't typically get to see on programming. I like
that's a
it.
good way to put it. That's a good
Yeah,
way to
like
put
I
it.
like that it's there. The match was fine, but I just like that there's going to be filler matches on a 3-hour show, and I like that they're not forcing that if they're going to force competitors together, it's competitors in the female roster as opposed to the male roster.
Yeah, that's fair.
Because so often the female roster gets overlooked in the WWE and in AEW that it's just nice to see that's, you know.
It does. Yeah. I agree with that, especially with a 3-hour show. You have time to give him. Why not give it to him?
Yeah, exactly.
And Chelsea Green gets her first win in a long time.
Yeah. Yep. Go figure.
So, I mean, good for her. Like that, cool. Like,
Well, that's gonna be her role. Like she's gonna fill that. Like what was it, Jillian Garcia? Not Jillian Garcia. What was God? What was because I'm thinking Lillian Garcia. What was JBL's assistant's name that had like the big mole on the side of her face at the was Jill something or other. But I mean, we'll
she was the annoying one.
Yeah, but that's kind of the role she's playing. Like that girl was annoying, but it was so over her being annoying that she was constantly on programming. Maybe it was also something else going on because that was the weird Vince era. But when you play a comedy role, male or female, if it works or if it's funny or if it gets over in the back and producers like it, they'll keep writing you in, and that's what they keep doing with Chelsea.
Yeah, that's exactly what happens, and it's she got to win.
Yeah.
Who knows? She's gonna end up getting a tag team title match with.
I think her and Piper might get
a
championship gold eventually in the women's tag team division. I could see
that's what it looks like because no matter what, you still need a heel champ every once in a while, so that'll help out. People hate her, doesn't matter. They keep cheering or booing, and as long as she's getting heat, like we just talked about with Dom, whatever works.
Yeah.
You need the flip side of the coin. You know what I mean? You can't have all faces with everybody's cheering. You need people like that get booed out for one reason or another.
Exactly.
The only way it works. Good guys, bad guys.
And she plays the heel comedy role, and then Piper can play the bodyguard. It writes itself. It's a very good little situation that they have going. So I have a feeling. Yeah, I have a feeling that they're gonna get there. They're gonna get championship gold at some point.
And this is something I've been waiting to talk about. Cody Rhodes addresses the crowd like he does every week. Does his spiel of what do you want to talk about, but does it in French, which was cool.
Yep.
I keep reading this week that people are already sick of Cody Rhodes.
Really?
Yeah. Like a lot of hate online for Cody Rhodes. And I don't understand. They're slow to building him up an opponent for the next live event. I think they got to hurry up and get a face in there because fans they don't want the generic promos anymore. And before it turns for the worse, like it did against WWE, fans are always finicky. So it doesn't matter. Like they'll bitch about anything. They'll get what they want and then complain about it a week later. I think that's what we're seeing.
Well, I mean, you got to look at it one way or the other. It's the WWE is still technically a PG program, and they're still pushing merchandise to younger children. So I think they look at it as if the marks online are going to bitch and moan because they don't like the superhero action figure Cody Rhodes character that he's going to be now, because that is what he is going to be. I mean, WWE.
That's what their faces always are.
Yeah. Well, they're big faces, yeah. Like
That's what I mean.
John Cena, the fans turned on John Cena eventually, but there's still a younger generation of fans that love John Cena. It's going to be the same thing.
I love John Cena.
I'm indifferent because I think for me, again, going off topic, he ushered in a sneeze. I hope I hit the mute in time for that.
You did?
If not, nice. He ushered in an era of WWE that turned me off to the programming because I think he went from the Doctor of Thugonomics to the hero, so to speak, and it became a very watered down PG brand.
Yep.
I think it's going to be the opposite with Cody Rhodes because he's shown the ability, that's not the right word, but he's shown the drive to go out and do more hardcore angles, to do more like he was the first wrestler to blade himself on WWE TV in like decades, and there's probably been other people, whatever.
That was another Vince rule. He hated blood.
Exactly. And it's, the marks are going to be marks. I think that there's a lot of people that I was a mark at one point when he created AEW. I hated the fact that, he was an EVP and I just knew I'm like, he's going to give himself the AEW championship, which he didn't. He took the mid-card title. That was fine. Marks are going to mark. And I really think that I'm not overly concerned about some people making noise online. I think that the merchandise sales are going to speak for themselves, and he will carry this
in the ticket sales.
Yeah. Although ticket sales are a little down. Raw wasn't a sellout for like the first time in they like some kind of streak was broke with last night's Raw.
I feel like they have that though after Mania. There's always like a dull period.
I think that's also with the lowered production and the more seats that they're opening up. There's kind of a reason they don't allow as many seats and they kind of close off a lot, to make it look more packed. So I think, when you do open it up to more people, you open yourself up to that where eventually, you're not going to sell out or it's going to look a little empty.
How do you feel about the minimal set?
I miss the big Titantron with the movies and the lights, and I don't know. I'm an old school, not old school, I guess, because I'm only 32, but I'm an Attitude Era guy. I still miss when when it was like a video package for their entrance and not all this weird stuff. I mean, like the guy behind me had some of the better, like because I was going through it recently. When he'd come out to Slow Chemical by Finger 11, like some of the best video packages, like for Kane coming out at that time in like the mid 2009, 10, 11.
I feel the same way.
I miss that stuff. So yeah, I don't love it.
I feel the same way. I like the style. Like it's not a bad looking style. It's just I like the Titantron.
Yeah. I need pizzazz. I need flair.
It was just always a part of the show.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like it was just cool to see. You know what I mean? And the different sets for the different events and stuff like that. Like I like that. And the SmackDown, like remember the big fist? Like that was so iconic.
Yeah.
That'd be great to bring that back.
I'll tell you what though, if the lowered production, it's what it is it's a cost saving. They can spin it like, oh, we're going to shrink down the set so we can fit more people in. What it is it's cost saving with the ability or the opportunity to sell more seats and bring in more revenue. So they're saving money with the setup, and they're also potentially bringing in more money by allowing more fans into the venue because there's more viewing angles. So if it keeps them from having to release a ton of talent, and I mean there's gonna be cuts, but I mean release like when they cut Bray Wyatt, which I don't think that was as much budgetary. I just think Vince, like Vince was being Vince and was like, well, you don't want to play by my rules, hit the road. But like when like Braun Strowman, getting released, like I also
think that Bray had a lot going on. I think that was like almost like a mutual thing where he needed time off and Vince just cut him.
Yeah, that's true. But I'm hoping that, that's what it is it's a way for them to kind of bring in revenue in a different way and cut costs in a way that's not going to be just like shock releasing talent because they need to impress the stockholders. Cuts are going to happen, but I'm hoping that it's not in the way where, they call it Black Monday for the WWE. I forget what Monday it falls on, but that's what
it's coming up. It's usually a couple weeks after Mania, right?
It'd be around this time. Yeah.
I could see it with the draft. I mean, there's always cuts in the business. Like that's what happens in the wrestling business. And you'd rather have a guy cut than not make TV every week and not do anything.
Yeah. But I'm just hoping that it's not guys that are or women that are, like actual fan favorites that maybe just aren't being utilized. I think Triple H
is too plugged in to do that.
Yeah, I think so as well. And I think that's what this is about, is it's a way to find money in other ways without having to lose talent that you're gonna have to you're gonna want to re-sign eventually. Because like Malachi Black or Aleister Black, if he ever gets cut loose from AEW, Triple H is gonna re-sign him in a freaking heartbeat. He was a Triple H guy. Yeah. And Aleister Black in the NXT, speaking of like Triple H, like in his wizardry, was I mean, again, I have Kane over my shoulder and Finn Balor above me. Like, I love that shit, man. And I'm pretty sure his entrance was Code Orange, who did Bray Wyatt's Fiend entrance, and they also, I think, did his final return entrance. I love when they have actual bands performing entrances, and it was I could be wrong. It might not have been Code Orange, but I'm pretty sure it was. Like it, that's the kind of thing I hope doesn't happen anymore, because I don't think he should have been let go. I get he wasn't on TV. He should have just been utilized better. And I think that's what this is more doing than it is just like, freshening things up. It's to find money in other ways without having to cut talent that they may want to keep later down the road.
Yeah.
Because I get that like talent wants to be on TV and you want guys to be on TV, but they're getting paid regardless. And that's the thing that's always kind of driven me nuts, is like, there's always
they get more per TV appearance though. There's like a TV bonus.
Yeah, but I'm sure they're still making a pretty decent amount of money if they're on the sideline for 3 or 4 months, because you're not always going to have something to do. Yeah, and I'm hoping that we'll see in this new era of WWE that like returns for people who maybe have gotten stale or who have been pushed off TV will get more creative input to push themselves, as opposed to just getting thrown whatever creative has been stuck with at that time.
I think we're seeing that too. I really do. But going along with the Cody Rhodes thing, obviously we're going to get to see who faces him next. I think that's happening tonight, right, on SmackDown.
Yeah, it's LA Knight and AJ Styles. It's going to be AJ Styles. I mean, it's pretty obvious. And it's, I mean, if you want to add some spice to Cody Rhodes, that is a hell of a way to do it. I mean, AJ Styles is one of the best wrestlers of our generation. He's going to be a hell of a heel to work with Cody Rhodes. His heel character hasn't been fantastic, but it's been good. I prefer. And
I think going against Cody, he's got enough material. He could go really deep with this.
Yeah, this is good. This will be a good feud. I'm excited for it, and I'm glad that this is who Cody's getting first. He's getting someone he can work with, who's going to make him look really good, and who's also going to be. I mean, I don't think AJ will beat Cody Rhodes, but it's a believable, opponent, as opposed to like, I still don't buy Jey Uso. So
yeah, it's a credible threat that's going to produce good matches.
Yeah,
I'm excited to see AJ Styles versus Cody Rhodes.
Yeah,
I don't know if we've seen it before. I think we have, but either way, I don't think it's been like a feud like this.
Yeah, maybe like I don't know, man. I can't remember recently, or at least since Cody's been back, him confronting AJ Styles or that actually happening. To be honest, I don't remember seeing it.
No, I can't remember if it did or didn't, but I don't. Yeah, I think you're right. I don't know if it did, but this is going to be fun. I love AJ Styles and I love Cody Rhodes, so this is going to be a lot of fun. And speaking of your boy Jey Uso, he had a match against your boy Finn Balor.
Yeah. F me, right? Like,
I mean, Jey Uso's getting the win there.
Well, so what scares me is Finn Balor, and I read this in an article. Finn Balor's being booked like a guy who's on his way out of the company. His contract's up, and he's being booked like a guy he's laying down for guys. Like, he's being booked, Thankfully, he's not getting the parody angles where he's shaving guys' backs and whatnot, but he's being booked like a guy who's leaving the company, and I don't love that, because I don't know if him going to AEW. I mean, he'd get pushed in AEW because of his name and because that's what they do with former WWE stars, and it would give me a more of a reason to tune into AEW. But
and he's the originator of the Bullet Club.
Yeah. Yep.
That might be what they need to kind of breathe some life into it until MJF comes back or whatever that is. But AEW is kind of dead in the water. I tried to watch this week. We're gonna get into that in a little bit. Not great. Great. And then we got the IC title match, Sami Zayn versus Chad Gable. This match was great.
Yeah, it was. This was amazing. And you knew it would be, and it had everything. again, this was another type of match that's, everything about it was very telegraphed. I think, you knew the heel turn was coming. You knew for one, you knew Sammy was going to get a big victory in front of his hometown, which I like that WWE is doing now. People are getting wins in front of their home crowd, which was and this isn't something I've seen anybody talk about, but that was a big, I don't know if it was a big Vince thing necessarily, but when Vince was in charge, superstars constantly were made to look ridiculous in front of their home crowds. Do you ever notice that? If you were in front of your home crowd, you were either losing or being made to look ridiculous.
Yeah, he would never push you like he did with this.
Yeah, and obviously Rhea got her big win in Perth. I think Drew McIntyre is going to get his big win in Newcastle, or wherever.
Yeah, I think you're right.
I think it's Newcastle in Scotland. I could be wrong, but it's going to be Clash at the Castle. It was nice to see them give Sammy his moment. He came through the crowd, and it was very long. I love that he walked through the front. I'd love to know how they do that. Do they just not tell the fans and just hope that nobody stabs him, or do they kind of walk?
Off.
No, he walked right through the concourse. Fans were touching him.
If you notice, there's still security guards on the sides.
They
got to keep it somewhat orderly.
But I just wonder if they're like, "Hey, Sami Zayn's coming, you guys should stay," or if they just stand there and wait for him, and then he pops out, and then because some people were visually shitting themselves when he was walking through the concourse. So I've always just wondered that, if it's super spontaneous or not super spontaneous, but if it's sort of spontaneous, or if they tell everyone "Hey, here comes Sami Zayn, everyone ham it up for the camera."
I don't know. I've never been a part of it, so
I haven't either.
At least in that, I've never seen it. I've seen Roman Reigns come out in the crowd, but obviously that was just him coming out in the crowd. It wasn't like he was doing anything in the corridor.
Where I actually went to one event where I'd sit here and just have dead air for 5 minutes if I tried to remember. I thought I went to an event where someone was going to come to the crowd, but the only two events I remember was Armageddon in 2006 and Raw, and the Shield wasn't together in Raw. They came out because it was when Roman relinquished his title because he had to leave to battle leukemia, but nobody came to the crowd there. So I've never been a part of it either.
And it's not a common thing. So, I mean, overall, what do you think about? Yeah, it was a lot more popular back then. I think I don't know, man. There's been a lot of fan interactions, where fans are jumping into the wrestlers' areas and trying to attack. I don't think it's a great idea to put the wrestlers out there.
Yeah, I don't either. It's
just one of those things. It's so strange how some people take this so life or death. It's crazy.
Or get obsessive.
I love wrestling like anybody else, but my God, dude, chill the fuck out.
Yeah, the dude who hid in Sonya Deville, or I forget her actual name, but Sonya Deville's house, and was waiting to kidnap her. The fact that people get that, crazy about it freaks me out.
It's so strange to me. Did you watch any of AEW this week?
I did not. I'll be the first one to tell you.
So I got,
but I'd love to hear your review of it, so I know not to watch it next week.
I got through some of it. Moxley started out the program. He had a promo, a long promo. For somebody who tries to be as different from the WWE as they are, they're not doing a good job.
No, and
carbon copy. It's if you're supposed to be a wrestling-based program, wrestle right off the bat.
If you wanted to be different from the WWE, you wouldn't have, your top star be Jon Moxley.
That's fair.
Not that he doesn't deserve it, but your top stars are Jon Moxley, Dean Ambrose, Sasha Banks, Paige. I mean, come on. What are we doing?
And then they had
Adam Copeland.
Yeah, dude. And he's
unrelated.
He not having a great run in AEW. I don't care what anybody says.
He did a phenomenal interview on it's a Barstool podcast called Mostly Sports. It's on at 9 every morning, Monday through Friday. He did a phenomenal interview on that podcast on, I think might have been yesterday. It was either yesterday or Wednesday. It was a really good interview. It was just cool. It's you got to he gave a lot of really interesting and insightful answers as to why he's in AEW, what he thinks of the product. Obviously it was rah because he's kind of the guy right now, but it was a good interview. I recommend you, and if anyone else is listening, to go check it out.
I'll have to check it out after this. I will. And then where do we go here? The Elite versus Pac, Penta, and Daniel Garcia was a good match. It wasn't anything
Yeah.
like spectacular. Obviously, the Young Bucks took that one, the Elite.
I
I
do miss
don't.
Pac. I'd love to see Penta in a WWE ring with some of the guys
Penta's
they have right
so
now.
nasty,
Yeah.
dude. I wish that he got a run in AEW for the title, like he should. But
Yeah.
they've never put him in that position. Like I think he's had a couple title matches, but it was never like something where you thought Penta had a chance to win. It was always like last second on a Wednesday night.
AEW makes me miss Lucha Underground.
Oh man, Lucha Underground was amazing,
Yeah.
dude.
I
It was
still
such a well produced show.
and it
It
had
was
some of the best luchador and like high flying wrestling that you'll ever see. Like I you know how many times I've seen Rey Mysterio and Ricochet in the ring together, and I get flashbacks of their like epic battles. Their first, I think it was the first season of Lucha Underground, like because he was Prince Puma,
yes,
Ricochet, and Lucha Underground, and he was one of their top stars. And you get to see
him
him.
and John Morrison.
Yeah, yep. John Morrison was also another big guy there.
I
Johnny,
forgot what he.
I think it was Johnny Nitro. Was he Johnny Nitro there or Johnny something? I don't
He
know.
changed his last name, but everybody knows who we're talking about.
Johnny Mundo or something like that.
Yeah, it was Johnny Mundo. You're right.
Yeah.
But dude, oh my god, their matches were unbelievable.
Yes, it
Like,
was phenomenal what they were doing with
and
that.
Penta and Vampiro, even though Vampiro is not a third of what it used to be, that was still like great television.
Mhm.
See, that's what you need. Like, if you're gonna be competition for the WWE, you need to be different.
Yeah.
You can't do the same thing. In Lucha Underground, it was smaller, obviously, like from an audience
Didn't have the same
standpoint.
funding.
Right. And they didn't have the same TV deals. They ended up on like some weird stations. And then
They
it
were
ended up on Netflix for a little while, which was
yeah, I was gonna
amazing.
say it streamed on Netflix for a while.
Yeah, because that's how I watched it.
Yep, same.
Dude, it was so when I first caught it, I was like, oh my god, this is amazing.
Yeah.
Like it was such a different style than what I've ever seen. It was
just
so
fast.
good. It was so good. It was so like unbelievable. I wish AEW would do like more stuff like that. Like just be different.
Yeah.
Like you don't have to be indie, but like just be different.
You can be indie and be different. Like it doesn't have to just be like we are the indie place. Like I
Right.
don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. Chris Jericho upset Hook. I didn't make it to this, so I'm just reading the results right now. I still have to finish it up. I finished up after the Young Bucks match. I fell asleep. I was tired. I work early.
Yeah,
It was on Orange Cassidy versus Shane Taylor, a match that I couldn't care less about. Orange Cassidy won. And then Will Ospreay versus Claudio, who people, what was his name in Cesaro?
Cesaro,
in
yeah.
Which that probably a good match with that Spot Monkey Ospreay. Not a big fan of him. I don't get it. Like,
yeah,
I don't. And
I mean,
especially last week when he went off on Triple H.
I'll be the first one to tell you that I don't really, I don't really watch New Japan. I don't really consume a lot of what's going on over there. So I don't know much of his wrestling style or who he is or what he does. So I don't want to make too much of like I don't want to come out and say
he's almost like a Ricochet, pretty much.
Yeah.
Like
I just my first exposure to him was just I've read the articles. I know of him. I know how big of a free agent commodity he was.
Yeah.
I obviously knew all that, but my first real thing that I saw of him online wasn't some crazy match that he has. It was just him saying some crazy shit, which he's not wrong. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying like, oh my God, how wrong he was to say that about Triple H.
I think he was wrong, and I think it's just cheap heat.
Well, yeah, that's more.
I think it's just like bullshit. Everybody heard that story before. Oh, because he slept with Stephanie, but he was in the meetings before he was with Stephanie. You know what I mean? Like he was always going to be involved in some aspect of WWE production.
Yeah. Yeah.
It just happened to be a little, maybe it went a little quicker because he dated Stephanie, but it was always going to happen. Like we would have got here eventually with him. He was already involved.
I just the first thing I'm seeing, on my feed from him is just him just saying some wild stuff on a program that just cannot seem to get over their It's the word I'm looking for. You're captive. They're whatever. They just can't stop talking about WWE and putting over WWE, and it's hilarious to me. This program that wants to be so different, yet they can't stop mentioning the other guy. Like, just do you, and you'll
Get
be
over
fine.
it.
Tony Khan needs to hire somebody else to run the show.
We talked about it last week. Like, get a Bischoff in there, get somebody in there that knows wrestling and help you out because you can't do it. You're fantasy booking. That's all you're doing.
Yeah, exactly. And that can only take you so far because eventually you can book all the greatest matches in the world, but if you're using cheap heat to get things over, I mean, it's just not gonna. It just doesn't do it.
It fades. It always fades. And I think that's what we saw with AEW. That's why they're not selling out. They did the dream matches. You need to build storylines and characters. Like, you can't just rely on fans just knowing who these guys are from New Japan. Like, they need to actually develop. Like, and they're not developing. I think that's the biggest problem. I was trying to look up when the draft starts April 26th on SmackDown. And then it'll continue on Raw, which is weird that they're doing it on SmackDown.
Well, they're doing it in the middle of the NFL draft to try to get people to be all juiced up about the draft.
Not a great move.
Yeah, probably not. They're actually talking about speaking of, they're talking about moving WrestleMania next year to later in the year so they don't come up against the Final Four.
I did see that. And they want it to be warmer because they didn't like it this year.
Because people were cold in Philadelphia. Oh no.
I don't like it out in the cold though. Like when they did it in New York and all that stuff, I don't like that. It's too cold. Outside.
I guess I'm one to talk because I've never been. But if you give me an outdoor wrestling venue, I would rather it be like 40, 50 degrees where I can put a sweatshirt on and a beanie and kind of like chill than it be 85, 90 degrees and be melting in my seat like I do at Fenway Park in the middle of the summer. That's just me.
That's fair.
I'd complain more about it being too hot. If you
push it off to May, it'll be in the 50s. You know what I mean? It's just a little better.
Yep.
I think we'll see where they're going to put it because usually they announce it right after and they didn't announce it yet. I think they're talking about the West Coast or Vegas.
Yeah, I think Vegas is where they're looking at right now.
I think that was the big news that I read this week, that's what they were going for. Other than that, there hasn't been much except for AEW is going to get Jack Perry back. He's going to continue to do the CM Punk stuff.
I hope not, but he's been wearing that jacket with Crimea River on the back of it.
Did you see this week what he came out in?
Yeah, it was
the Chicago flag.
Oh, did he really?
Yeah, like what do you? Why? Why do you have to keep doing it?
Yeah.
It's not good to talk about another company's big star.
It's crazy to me how big CM Punk really is. That
I don't think people realize the power that he has.
I mean, I think just
everybody knew, but this is crazy.
I just think the fact that the WWE brought him back, that should in that aspect just tell you how much power he has, that even this big company that tried to fight him for so long, once he wiggled free from AEW, they were like, you know what would make us a ton of money? What would be great programming? And it's going to be great programming until he retires.
Right. And then he's going to step into a backstage role.
Yeah, exactly. I've mentioned that. Yeah, I feel like while he's out, he's going to do some production work for NXT.
Without a doubt.
Actually, that's supposedly what Sean Spears is doing right now, actually. Or Trent Dillinger, whatever, I think that's what he was in WWE.
That's probably the best role for him because he can't get over in the ring.
I think a lot of guys are kind of getting to that point. A lot of guys, when they come back for that, like Robert Roode's doing that now. Yep. Abyss, if you remember Abyss from TNA, has been.
Robert Roode help produce the main event of WrestleMania?
Yeah, something like that. I don't know if that was exactly it, but
it was him and Bruce Pritchard, I think.
It might have been. I know he was helping Rock. He helped get the Rock back into shape. He was one of the guys that was working with him at the Performance Center.
Not a bad guy to work with.
No, he's heavily involved in a lot of what's going on in WWE, and he's another great mind. But I got to look into after the show. I want to look into see if Abyss is still working as a producer for the WWE. I think he left, but
I think he did leave.
He was another guy that was never on WWE programming that I wanted to see so badly. Like I think it was Decay was what that group was called in TNA with Rosemary. I think Eric Young maybe.
I forgot the name of the
I
group, but I
think it
know
was
exactly what
Decay,
you're talking about.
but it was
Abyss had a monster run in
yes,
TNA.
he was Kane. He was
Yeah,
basically
he was.
a like, I guess you could say wish version of Kane, but it worked. It worked so well for
Man, he had some
TNA.
amazing matches and rivalries in TNA.
Yep.
My God, AJ Styles, like Eric Young, like dude,
Kurt Angle.
Kurt Angle, like he did Raven. He
Yep.
did like some amazing work in TNA. He's got a good wrestling mind too. He was one of
Yeah.
those guys I always enjoyed watching. Like always. He wasn't
I'd
always
have
the
to-
biggest, like he wasn't as big as I initially thought, but
No, I mean, it was TNA. A lot of guys didn't get as
Yeah.
big because of TNA. They got bigger when they came over to the WWE.
right. And as I don't know, as a big guy, man, could he move?
Yeah.
My God, he could move in that ring, dude. He was
Those
so
are the guys that do
athletic
well.
and fast. Yeah, you have to be athletic if you're going to be big nowadays, especially. So I would say probably since Kane and the Undertaker,
Yeah.
to be big, you got to be athletic because those guys can move in the ring, dude.
So I'm hoping Baron Corbin gets another push, and not as like the happy or sad Corbin, as just like the lone wolf Baron Corbin.
He was so. Speaking of NXT, he was so good in NXT. His
Yeah,
run,
yeah, it was
like, so
it,
good.
It was he went it. I hit. No, I'm stuttering. His revival. I mean, when you get stuck with like the down on your luck and then the happy, BS thing that he was running with, I mean, there's nowhere to go but up from there.
Right.
And his move set and the way he wrestles in the ring is so good that he deserves more. And there was probably some backstage stuff from what I understand that was why he got kind of relegated into some crap roles and lost the Money in the Bank contract the way he did. He's another guy that I'm hoping to see get drafted and get kind of rebuilt to where he was 5 or 6 years ago.
Time will tell.
Yeah.
I wish. I don't know.
Deep Six is one of the coolest moves I've ever seen.
Dude, he was, he was unbelievable, and they pushed him to the moon, and then he just like got to the main roster and like kind of fell off.
The rumors at the time were that he had some heat backstage for something that he did or his attitude or something, and that's why he ended up losing the Money in the Bank contract as easily as he did. And
he was one of those guys that was wasted and then became a joke.
Like,
when they don't know what to do with a guy, they make him a bad comedy character and push him away. And he was one of those guys because he had some good matches too.
Yeah.
He can wrestle, man.
He can move. He's a big guy who can move.
And he can talk.
Yeah.
Like I didn't think he could at first, but like he's got some chops on him.
He's getting better. Yeah.
Yeah. Especially as a heel. I think it fits him a lot better.
Yeah. He'll always, his best work will always be as a cocky heel.
Yeah. Because he's too generic to be a face, I think.
Yeah.
Like way too generic. But the WWE has all these guys, and they can go a million different ways. Like even if you want to throw him in a group or whatever it was to help, help.
They need more heels, so
yeah, they're in desperate need of a heel because outside of AJ, who else is going to face Cody after that?
Exactly, yeah, because McIntyre's going to be wrapped up on Raw. So it's
I think Cody gets drafted to Raw.
I think the way he left Raw, the whole passing of the torch to Jey Uso. I think some of the top guys are staying where they are. I'm pretty sure Cody's going to stay on SmackDown with that championship, and Damian Priest will stay on Raw with the World Heavyweight Championship.
I don't know. This is their chance, especially going to Netflix and stuff. They're going to want people to turn in.
Yeah, they got time though. They got time.
Yeah, they do. But then what's the point of the draft? Which has always been their problem anyway.
I think it's just to shake up the mid-card, and to shake up the challengers for the top two guys. It's really what it's going to come down to.
But they always flip a couple top guys, though. They always flip a couple top guys.
I'm hoping that's different, though. That's something like seeing LA Knight on Raw. I think is fine. I'm just hoping they don't flip champions. That's what I'm hoping for.
Yeah. There's not many heels on Raw anyway.
There's just not many heels in general right now.
Yeah, they haven't developed them, or they're hurt. Like I think eventually we get a heel CM Punk too. By the way.
I think he's already kind of heelish in the way he acts anyway.
Right. I think it's a matter of time before he just flips the script completely.
Yeah.
And I probably when he comes back, I would assume, depending on who the champ is.
Oh, it's going to be Drew McIntyre. He and Drew McIntyre will get a feud for the World Heavyweight Championship as soon as CM Punk's healthy.
And you got to give CM Punk the title off of that.
At some point, yeah, I think you flip flop it. I think you Drew gets a couple months, he drops it to CM Punk, and then at a big pay-per-view, Punk does the deed and drops it to Drew again.
Yeah, that could happen. I could see that.
Because I at CM Punk's age and injury history, I wouldn't give him a championship. I wouldn't give him a championship to try to carry. I would give him a championship as more of a storyline piece. And it's not that I don't think he could carry it. I just think that there's truth to Drew McIntyre saying that he's always in rehab. He's very injury prone, especially at this point in his career. So I would give him the title to then drop it a couple months later to Drew if he.
Yeah, I don't think he's getting like a year long run, but he's going to get that title.
Yeah,
he's definitely getting that title, and I think we're going to end up seeing him main event of Mania at some point in the next 2 years.
That'd be nice. I'd like to see that for him to kind of finish his story.
I think that's the whole point of it. I think he would have did it this year, and then he got hurt.
Yeah,
I think that was initially the plan. But other than that, do you have anything else wrestling related from this week? There really wasn't much newsworthy stuff.
No, it was pretty quiet for the most part.
Yeah, which isn't always bad, but isn't always great either.
That's the time of the year.
So, Joey, I have a special guest again, James Anito. He's going to come on real quick. We're going to talk UFC 300 after we get off. I'm going to add James right now. Hey, James, how's it going, bud?
Hey, how you guys doing?
Good. Hey, did you watch Raw this week?
I didn't. I watched the highlights, but I didn't get too much into it, to be honest with you.
You didn't miss much. We broke it all down. There was a couple things that were cool, but and then Joey and I disagreed on a few different angles.
That seems to be the theme.
Hey,
it does. Makes for good
wrestling's
radio.
meant to be disagreed on, right? There's going to be two sides of the spectrum of they might be in the middle line.
Yeah, it was good though. It was a good week overall, I think. Joey, I can't wait for next week. I can't wait for SmackDown. I'm gonna watch it once we get off.
I'm just hoping that they change this. I want to see what the new SmackDown tag team championships look like.
Yeah, I think that's going to be this. Obviously, we're going to get those titles this week too.
Yeah,
I think like we talked about, it's going to look similar to the Raw ones, just a little different.
Well, I think it's going to look like the women's and I think it's going to look like the titles that are on SmackDown right now. It's going to look like the WWE Undisputed Championship and the women's WWE Women's Championship. It's going to be centered around the WWE logo, like those titles are. They did the same thing with the Raw one. They centered it around the World Heavyweight Championship. I think they're visually trying to make it look like
they belong in that brand.
This is this brand's championships, and these are that brand's championships. Like NXT, everything NXT is branded NXT. It'll be something to differentiate the show that it's on.
Yeah, that's more than fair on that. That's a good point. It will be interesting. I can't wait to see it. It'll be fun. I always enjoy when they unveil a new championship and
waiting for the Winged Eagle.
Oh my God, it's got to be coming soon. I hope. I think after his first title defense.
Fingers crossed.
I hope so. Well, Joey, thank you, man. Appreciate it again this week. It was another good show.
Of course.
And we'll see you next week at 7.
I'll be here.
Thanks, Joey. James. Yeah, I think you're muted. I can't hear you. Nope, something's wrong with the audio. We lost him. Nope. We'll be right back. I am going to play this quick video intro. And we're going to bring James Anito back in. He's going to sign back in. We were just having some technical difficulties here. James, welcome back.
Hey, Bams. I hope you can hear me now.
I can, loud and clear too. It's good.
Awesome, good. Yeah, no, I'm in a different house. last minute friend came down from California, and my son and her son are really great friends. So, we had to come spend some time. So, my apologies.
No, you're all good, man. Let's get right into it. UFC 300 was amazing.
Oh, dude, we kind of both knew it was going to be a good card, but oh man, every single fight to maybe one or two, my one or two, but every single fight though was jam packed. It was finish after finish after finish, basically. You can even say Charles Oliveira finished Arman, but if he had enough time, he had that Darce choke in. Oh God, man,
if he didn't get saved by that buzzer.
I know, right? And especially, look at Jan, right? Jan got choked out by Weili and didn't win it.
That was one of the craziest things I have ever seen. She was out.
Was out, man. Out.
Did you hear the corner? I had a couple buddies over, and as soon as she went to the corner, they looked at it and they're like, "We can wake her up." And I was like, "Wait a minute." Wait a minute, dude.
At that out. Point, regardless, she was out when the bell went off, right? So to me, that should if the referee really noticed it, that should have been the match. But I'm glad it wasn't because man, it was
that was a hell of a fight.
It was a back and forth. Yes, it went to a decision, but man, what a back and forth. Jan, she had some fire to her. No wonder why she was the number 2 or number 1 ranked fighter in the strawweight division. So,
dude, what an amazing fight that turned out to be. After that first round, I was like, all right, this isn't gonna last long. And then it goes the distance and it.
Yep.
To follow up the BMF title with that, what an amazing fight. Dana got lucky on that one.
Oh yeah, yeah. Because Weili, the last 2 fights, man, I heard a lot of people talking about it because, the BMF was the third. So it wasn't even the co or main, but it was the third fight on that card, on the main event card, the third, before the last. But it was it sucked so much energy out of me, man. I had to wake up and restart the Weili fight over again because I was after that, so much energy was exerted. I was so start to finish, man. We knew what was going to happen to a degree. I did think Gaethje was going to win. I told you, I thought Gaethje would win because of how he is, but I wanted Holloway to win. But never did I expect pure domination.
The end of that first round when Gaethje took that heel to the nose, that set the tone for that whole fight. Right at the last second, he takes a kick that breaks his nose.
Yep.
And that second round, you could see he was affected. There was no other way around it. He couldn't breathe out of that nose.
And he did a rookie mistake by blowing it out too. If he coagulated a little bit, it probably, would have saved him some blood. But, but yeah, no, man, still just to show you why he's called the highlight, just to go back and forth, 5 rounds, gets knocked out the last second. I did one thing about Holloway. He's always been called pillow fist. Yeah, he knocked out the zombie because, tail end of the career, and he did his little point thing, and they went on a slugfest. But, look at his war with Calvin Kattar. Look at his war with Brian Ortega. Never finished both of those guys, right? That I can recall. I definitely know Kattar he didn't finish. He brutalized both of them. But man, to knock out Gaethje, he's been in a lot of wars. So, at the tail end, and he's I think 35. So, right. There's a point in your time that where regardless a perfect shot would take you out, and he's been hit by a lot of perfect shots, man. We talked about, I think Poirier and Alvarez beating him the first go around, but oh geez, man, I did not expect
Gaethje just missed with a shot that would have knocked Holloway out, and he even said it after the fight. He was like, Gaethje missed 2 shots. He's and if he would have sent me to the shadow room if he hit those shots.
Oh yeah, man.
Gassed, man.
Yeah, and just Holloway surprised me. I know he's a beast, man, but to be walking on that leg afterwards after getting murdered, dude, that dude is the epitome of why that belt was created. We had, the Masvidal Diaz fight was a letdown because of how it was ended. The Poirier Gaethje fight was great, because it was that knockout from the high kick. And then this was the epitome of why it was created, man. Like those two fights ended too fast, right?
Yeah.
This was like a back and forth slugfest that I think will go down, not recency bias like Ariel Helwani and some other people say, like legitimately one of the greatest back and forth fights we have ever seen, especially in that weight class. Like it's going to be a classic. Yeah, everybody's going to remember that 1 second knockout or 2 second knockout. Oh man, like
The UFC couldn't have asked for more from that title match at all.
Dude, I know, right? And that's why I said like those last two fights. And we have to talk about Pereira, man, because of what he did.
Oh, we'll get into Pereira.
But those last two fights, I had to watch. I woke up at like 3 a.m. in the morning, mad at myself that I missed those two fights because I was so tired and drained from that BMF fight. I woke up at 3 a.m. and I watched both fights.
It was worth a watch, dude. That was all right. So before we get into that, the Bo Nickel match, not fun to watch at all.
No,
that was not fun to watch. He dominated, obviously, like everybody expected him to, but it was not an entertaining fight. He went over to Dana right after the fight and apologized for it too.
Yeah, he did. He did the thumbs downs, man. Like I agree with him. Like Brundage is 15 fight experienced fighter. It was like 10-5 or like even worse than that, I think, or whatever. But it was a good test for him because Brundage can wrestle and he is a dog, right? And even though he doesn't have the greatest record in the book, like it showed us Bo Nickel needs a lot more work, right? Mm-hmm. And I think the UFC knows that, and that's why they keep giving him small fighters. Like I said to you on the
they have to give him an entertaining fight next, though. Like they have.
Yeah, they do. And I think that I think his placement on that card. I know people say he's a star. I really don't know how much of a star he is. There's no numbers that prove it. So maybe the UFC knows and we don't know. But I didn't like the placement on that card. I thought even like Cody Garbrandt versus Davison Figueroa could have been in that slot. I want to say Yuri or which was another fight, Alexander Ratchik, which was another amazing fight. But that deserved the main event, the prelims, because that is a main event fight in my opinion. Yuri Prochazka just showed everybody why he's the beast and why I'm such a mega fan of him. He he did lose to Alex Pereira, but he's so good, man. Like if he learned defense and wasn't a wild man, he'd be unstoppable. His striking's so unorthodox. It's like it's so hard to game plan against him. Like he was at times, like Ratchik was unloading on the guy, but Yuri's just another animal.
Dude, he looked so good in that fight. He did, and somebody else who looked good in their debut, Kayla Harrison.
I know, man.
She looked so dominant in that fight.
Oh man, it shocked me a little bit. I thought Holly was gonna put a little bit more of a fight on. She did, like I said, fight Ronda Rousey, and she was a gold medal. But I will say though, look at how big Kayla was compared to Holly Holmes, man. With gaining that 20 pounds.
Dude, that's crazy that she was able to put on that much weight in that short amount of time. She looked good though.
Yeah, she was massive. She was so massive. And you know what? What did I say? Amanda Nunes is gonna get interested and she's gonna bark, and she did. And they're saying that from what Dana said, I don't think that. I don't know if they're gonna do Pena versus Rocky first. I'm not a big Pena fan. Raquel, I don't mind. I don't think she's championship material, but I don't know if Kayla's going to go fight Pena and then Raquel, or Pena and Raquel are going to fight and then she's going to fight the winner, which I understand if they want Raquel to fight because they need to build cards. The next guys, they need to build fights for the upcoming year, but I think Pena versus Raquel, and then I think Kayla is going to have one of those.
She's one of their big stars coming up, though. Without a doubt, dude. Kayla Harrison is going to get pushed to the moon. Man. Came out and looked so good. Like,
She did, man. She did. And, I think our dream fight, we didn't get to see the Kayla versus Chris Cyborg thing, but, we might get to see Amanda Nunes versus Kayla Harrison.
her
And that to
response
me is,
to Cyborg was hilarious, by the way. Did you see that?
she's such a troll.
She's like, go home already. No one cares.
Yeah, and then Cyborg said, "Oh, I'll get the winner of Nunes versus Kayla or something like that." Like, dude, you have a
No way.
contract with Bellator, Fellator, whatever Dana said, which was great. But, yeah, no, Cyborg's great, man. Don't get me wrong, but
Her time is past.
yeah, and she always talks crap. She always talks so much crap. Like, she decided to burn her bridge with UFC. She could have had the big fights. When Nunes knocked her ass out into the 9th round, like she could have stayed and got a rematch, but she decided to jump ship. And I can see why. She is a woman that had in every major really MMA organization has had a championship bout.
Yep. She's got a name.
Yeah,
she's got
she does.
a big name, and I think it's gone to her head a lot because she keeps trying to make these fights that nobody else wants to see but her. It's
yeah.
Somebody else that looked dominant though that you did not like was Aljamain Sterling.
I did not, man. I'm not the only person saying it was like extremely a bad showing for him in the sense that like on a card like that magnitude, I understand. We spoke personally, like it's a win. Like he did dominate.
There was also
Calvin
some
Guitar.
points where I thought he was going to finish him.
Yeah, but he didn't, and
No,
he
he
could have.
didn't.
He could have. I just don't know if it was his hesitation because of the sugar fight. I think he even said he had some hesitation in some of his interviews, and I get the hesitation. You get knocked out, you want to make sure you win, right? But when you're on that kind of card, and regardless, all the Ella decisions were very exciting. Beside Bo Nickel, which is a fight I didn't like. Which he subbed Brundage, but I think that I don't know. I think I would like to see Sterling fight next. Who he fights next? This is Mozaev. If it's Mozaev, great. I really would love to see him, and it's been riddled. I know Ilya's being a dickhead right now with Holloway, which seeing Ilya's face when Max Holloway knocked Justin Gaethje out was like, oh shit, I got to deal with that possibly.
For the people that are saying that he's afraid, he's not afraid.
Ilya, I don't think
Ilya is afraid.
I don't think he's afraid, but I think he's shocked on that he was able to knock out Justin Gaethje, and he realized that it's not going to be as easy as he expected to beat because he takes 9 minutes of his fight with Alexander Volkanovski against the 90 minutes Holloway had and didn't win any of it, right? But Holloway has become, since his third loss against Volkanovski, he has become a much different fighter in the sense where
he's a much better fighter.
Much better fighter, yes. And I think, for getting back to Sterling, I think that if it's not Mosev, I think if he really wants to take a real huge step up, because I think Mosev is like fourth, I believe, maybe fifth. But if he wants to take a big step up, he did say he would like to fight Ortega. And I really would love that fight because Brian Ortega is a dog, and he has the submission skills to submit anybody. He's a great jiu-jitsu guy. Yeah. And I think that would be a big test for Sterling. He takes Ortega down. Ortega can work off the back like a maniac. So that's one of the greatest things he's known for is working off his back. So I think that, I think that should be the fight Sterling would want to kind of march towards and get for, because I think that if he can beat Ortega, who is in the top 3, I believe right now, that it's just skyrocket him to the title shot. And I think that's what he wants, because he even said it. Sterling said, if I lost this fight, I retired. So there's not much time in his head to fight. If he loses the next fight, I think Sterling's done. I think he's gone. I think he's going in the sunset. So I behoove him to pick the right fight, but pick the fight that, will show his true skills at 45.
I think the UFC is behind that too. I think that's going to be their move, is to put him in the most entertaining fight and get the most out of Aljamain Sterling that they can.
Yeah,
they got a lot out of.
Go ahead. Sorry. No, I
No,
said
you
him
good.
fighting strikers. It doesn't create exciting matchups. Like him, see, like I said, like I don't watch MMA just for wrestling, but a good grappling match with some stand up because it starts on the feet. Whoever to Sterling to take Ortega down is not going to be easy feat. So it's going to be a little bit of a stand up. Somebody's going to get taken down. So I like that more of a mixed matchup, and I think that it will. I think it will just be wonders of a fight. But sorry.
I think you're right. I was just gonna get into the potato fight,
Oh man. Oh man. Oh man.
dude. The fact that he made Jamal Hill's eyes roll in the back of his head, what like he hit him so hard, and right after he got hit, like he took the low blow, called Herb Dean off, and then just proceeded to knock him into the shadow realm.
Oh man, as much as I thought Hill had a shot because anybody that can punch and knock and that has that power has a puncher's chance, right? Man, what a gangster move of Pereira to just say, I ain't taking time. I'm going to knock this dude out. And it's great because he even explained it as such. And this is what happens with a lot of fighters. Something like that happens. The other person gets the rest too, right? So when you're playing that chess game and you're moving those chess pieces and you have a plan and then something happens, he had said, he found his range. He knew if they stopped it, he would have to find his range again. And it could have been, who knows, if he took that break, Jamal could have knocked him out. That's the possibility, right? So Alex knew he found his range. He had him backpedaling, and then made magic happen.
Yeah, dude. Pineda was just just to showcase his power the way that he did again. Unbelievable, dude. What an interesting way to end that fight and end the card completely. Because I mean, you had so many amazing fights, and to end that with a quick knockout, I think was the way that everybody wanted that fight to end. And it just happened to be that Pineda just caught him and knocked the eyes right in the back of his skull, too. Jamal Hill was out. Like before he hit the ground, he was out.
Yeah, you know what? Too, as Jamal was talking so much crap, right?
Oh yeah, he was.
So some of the interviews I watched with him just made him come off like a douchebag. Like it's like I've made more money in 3 years. Like nobody cares, dude. Like yeah, you came off an injury. You came back miraculously in like a good amount of time. The science has come a long way, and those injuries have an easier time to develop from. But like, oh man, like Hill talk so much shit, and for him to get knocked into the shadow realm, like you said, was just a cream on the crop. And man, I wish the UFC took Alex Pereira. I know he had a broken toe, man, but I would have loved to see him take a quick turnaround, fight at 301 in Brazil, and fight at heavyweight. And it didn't even have to be somebody like a big name.
Put him on the card.
Put him on the card, make him fight like a top 20 heavyweight. Because you know what? In the past, people have done that before. Look at Anderson Silva in his heyday when he was the middleweight champion. He would go up and test the light heavyweight waters here or there, and it was not always against greatest. Stephan Bonner was later in his career. He did fight James Irvin when Irvin was on a good streak, and he did fight Forrest Griffin right after he lost the belt. So he did fight good fighters, but they were able to have him test the waters without any title ramifications or ranking ramifications. He went up there to have fun, and I wish they let Pereira do that too. Yeah, he has a broken toe, but you could tape that shit and let him fight. Like I'm saying, man, that would have just made him such a bigger star than he already is. Like he's a star, but he's not a superstar. And I think if they've let him fight at 301 in his home country and fought at heavyweight and he won, even if it was against top 20, oh man, he would go to the stratosphere of popularity. People know him, but he'd be on a different level.
I can't remember a guy coming into the UFC and doing what he's done.
Yeah, man. The only person I could think of is Anderson Silva. He fought Chris Lieben and then basically had Rich Franklin after that. And then the way he did Rich Franklin was, geez, man. But yeah, not many people that I know. The only other one I can name two off the top of my head is Conor McGregor. Yeah. He came in as the Cage Warrior double champ, right? Lightweight and featherweight. he came in and he was big right away too. He didn't have the greatest, fights at the beginning. He did fight the Poiriers, the Holloways in their early
Right.
life of doing this, but and beat both of them. But yeah, but no, like I think there's only what I can think of, maybe five. Ron Rousey's another one. She came in with pulling crazy numbers, but yeah, there's not many of them, and I think Alex is one of those. He was a glory champion. Yeah, known for knocking out Israel into the shadow realm,
I'd
and
love to see him jump to heavyweight.
Alex, yeah, man, do you know on fight night he was 232. He ballooned.
Yeah, I knew that he gained weight. I didn't know he was at 232 though. Holy
Yeah,
crap.
20 pounds too. He ballooned up 20 pounds. So if he was 232, he could, and how he looked, he could fight at heavyweight. Yeah, a lot of those guys balloon up to like almost 300 pounds, because the limit's 265. So if you're 265 on weight, you're 285, 295 on fight night. So he'd be fighting some big guys. But if he got to like a healthy 245 on weight cut and then gained
I
another
was just
10
going to say that right around 250 or something like that, he'd be perfect for it.
Yeah, look, because that's what John Jones is about, 250-ish, 260, I believe.
And that's my dream fight right there. Pineda versus John Bones.
Oh man, I don't give Pereira any shot, to be honest with you, on that. Bones
if he
Jones,
can keep it off the ground,
which is hard. Look at what he did to Cyril Gane.
No, it's really tough to do. I mean, John Bones Jones, he's one of the greatest of all time. I have a tough time putting him ahead of George St. Pierre. That's just me because I'm a St. Pierre guy.
Yeah.
But Bones has a right to call himself the GOAT.
Yeah, I do like GSP, but the one thing about GSP, he did have his loss. I did think he lost the Johnny Hendricks fight as much as I did not like Big Rig at all. But, yeah, he lost to Matt Serra and, well, I think he lost to Matt Hughes too. I think once, and then he also lost to Johnny Hendricks, even though it was a win for him. So you can always debate GSP versus John, and you can also add Anderson.
My biggest problem with John is the time off, though, because we don't know what would have happened in those times. Could he have gotten better? Probably. You know what I mean? Would he have lost? Maybe not. But you never know who could have came across him and caught him with one. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
that happens all the time.
And two, if he everybody talking about Jones and Francis, like if he, I've seen Stipe versus Francis live at the TD Garden, and what Stipe did to Francis the first time they fought, he humped the living lights out of him, but that was the best game plan he could have because you're not. But Jones, like Stipe, is a great wrestler. Don't get me wrong, but Jones is a whole nother caliber. And if he fought Francis at an earlier time in that 3 year, the beginning of that 3 year mark, I think he could have beat Francis. Now that Francis's wrestling game has really gotten better, and how he beat Gane with that injury and wrestled him. Which Gane's not really a true testament of your wrestling capabilities, but even he in the Stipe fight, the second Stipe fight, he did defend the takedowns and didn't get taken down. So, I don't know. That's a tough fight, because John Jones has never had that punching power. It was always the elbows, always getting choking somebody out. Like he could probably knock your lights out.
His elbows were always the story to his early career. That was like the big thing.
And then later on in his life, kicks. He knocked out Daniel Cormier with that kick. He knocked out Alexander Gustafsson with that kick. So he can do it. But that's the Mount Rushmore of UFC or MMA, right? That's always debatable who's going to be the George Washington and the Abe Lincoln and all that stuff. But all I know is we've had some high caliber, great superstars, but I think Alex is on that way, and I really do hope. He's defended the title once now, which is more than what you can say about the last 4 light heavyweight champions since Daniel Cormier let it go and John Jones let it go. But I think if he has 1 or 2 more fights at light heavyweight, they'll let him go to heavy, and they can if it's. I think at that point it's going to be Aspinall. To be honest with you, unless Aspinall doesn't get dry humped to death by Curtis Blades. Because Blades is good, man. He's never had that moment to shine, but as much as I don't like the guy, he's a great wrestler and he can knock your lights out. He did to Alistair Overeem, which is no testament either because Overeem's chin was always kind of tarnished. But we'll see. I do think Aspinall has the tools. He's young, he's brash and stoic, and he a hell of a fighter. I think if Aspinall, and they've been already bickering, him and Alex, right? So I think that if that does happen, man, I think that would be one of the greatest fights ever. But you know what card I'm looking for coming up to is 303, and I told you they would announce Connor versus Chandler, man. Woo!
I hope that Chandler knocks his head off.
He won't.
He's gonna be aggressive, man, and Connor's gonna have to counterpunch, but I think Chandler has the ability to do it. I really, really do. I like Michael Chandler.
Trust me, I like Chandler too. I the only time I really ever watched Bellator was for the Pitbull brothers and him when he was against Eddie Alvarez in the that trilogy series. Like those are some great classics, man. And Chandler's fight since he's been in the UFC, he's not on a winning streak really at all. Like I think he's had 3 losses in the UFC, but all those people he's fought were top-notch fighters. Poirier, Gaethje, it's hard to do. But the thing is, if like Connor's serious, the problem is the difference between Michael Chandler and Poirier, right? And Poirier beating Conor McGregor is Poirier's boxing is on a whole nother level, and that just is a testament even more after you see what Poirier. Even though Holloway had a short period of time and he only had a couple weeks to actually train, like to still see what he did to Holloway. And Poirier only had that much time to train for Holloway as well too. So it's just like to see what Poirier did to Holloway after Holloway did to Gaethje, even though Gaethje knocked out Poirier. MMA math's terrible, but I think the problem is Chandler doesn't have the boxing caliber that Poirier has. He does have the wrestling, and he's gotten away from that a lot. He's a big guy, and his wrestling is what gave him his stand up. They always say a great wrestler can transition to great punching power and great striking ability because of their stances. But I don't know, man. It's a fight that I can't wait to see. But they even dropped the bomb for 302, man. Like friggin' was it Robert Whitaker? Was it Robert Whitaker versus Paulo Costa? And what was the main event too? I should know it too because that was 302. They dropped that bomb too. That's a good fight too. I can't think of it.
It's Poirier versus Islam. And Sean Strickland versus Paulo Costa. Yeah.
Yeah, yep. Sean Strickland versus Paulo Costa. Robert Whitaker just fought Paulo Costa, but those two fights, man, too, are exciting. Like Poirier, I'm glad he doesn't.
I'm a big Poirier guy, so I love it.
He doesn't deserve it, to be honest, after beating Benoit. But this is the tail end of his career. If he loses this, he's done. I know he's done. He's retiring. I can tell you right now, if he loses, he's gonna hang up his gloves. But I'm glad as somebody that's transitioned to become a big Poirier fan as well because of his just fighting capabilities. I don't know. I think Khabib already showed the way to beat Poirier, right? So, and Islam, everybody says is Khabib 2.0. Like
I don't think. I get that people say. I don't see it though. Khabib was a freak.
Yeah, he was a chain wrestler. He was a chain wrestler. He knew how to take you down. Yeah, he had punching power, as you've seen with a couple of fights. He struggled against some people like Al LaQuinta. He struggled against to put him out after 5 rounds. Like Khabib was good. The one thing about Islam, and I give Islam a lot of credit, his stand up is a hell of a lot better than Khabib's was, and he still does have good wrestling prowess. Like that. I know Alexander Volkanovski went up in weight, but and it was very close the first fight, but what he did to Alexander the second fight, man.
The first fight could have went either way.
It could have, but that second fight
could have went either way.
That second fight,
he dominated.
It was, man, and that just shows you Islam has grown because Volkanovski is a beast, right? So that Poirier Islam fight is going to be interesting. I do hope Poirier wins. but I have a feeling Islam's going to win. And then I think it's going to be Islam Arman. And, Arman's first fight was against Islam, right? That's another good fight that was on the card. Arman versus Charles. But,
that was a very good fight.
Arman brought Islam into tough waters their first fight. Mm-hmm. So, Arman's a beast, man. Like, yeah, Charles. I did think that if Charles had like 5 more seconds, Arman would have lost that fight. But, it just shows you how good Arman is that he was able to be in there with Charles Oliveira, because Oliveira is a beast, man. The only person to beat him in the past couple of years was Islam, right? So
one of the greatest of all time, Charles Oliveira.
Oh yeah, man.
One of the greatest of all time.
For sure. Also talk about, let's pick a little bit more, because I know I'm going to go to 9 o'clock because this UFC 300 was so amazing. But, as much as I felt bad for Jim fucking Miller, man, that Bobby Green fight, and Jim Miller was a fight too, man. Like, yes, Jim Miller got brutalized, 23 stitches later and all that fun stuff. But, like, man, Bobby Green, I did not expect Bobby Green to tee off on him like that. Like, Jim had no answer, but still, Jim never, ever quit, man. It made that fight. It made that fight scary to see it, because Jim tried everything in his power, but every time he would go for an offensive, Bobby Green would just jab him to death, right? That jab ate Jim Miller away. But that was a spectacular fight. I totally feel if Max Holloway and Justin Gaethje wasn't on that card, I think that would have taken fight of the night, to be honest with you. And that's my opinion, because it was just brutal, and I think it set the whole. I think it was the second fight, third fight on that in the early prelims. So that really set like the mood. Even Figueroa versus Garbrandt was like a barn burner until Figueroa choked him out. But
Zhang Weili versus Yan was a great fight too. That might have been fight of the night on that.
Yeah, that could have been fight of the night too. Who knows? They usually tend to give the champions fight of the night time to time. But one thing I'm glad that they did is they gave Yuri Prochazka a performance of the night, so he got 300,000. But man, to Max to get 600K.
Max said he'd put the BMF title on the line too in his next fight if he had to.
Yeah, well, that's what Ilya's saying. Max has a hard on with Ilya, man. Like he could fight. I think
he feels like he's ducking him, and it seems like it.
Oh, what, Ilya? Yeah, kind of. Yeah,
it feels like Ilya's ducking him. He said he doesn't get a title shot, and then Max Holloway comes out here, dominates Gaethje, and now it feels like Holloway can pick whatever title he wants to go for in 2 different weight classes. He can pick whatever he wants.
Yep. To me, to be honest with you, like, what I would really love to see, man, and I think Holloway could do it, is, if he drops down the featherweight, he grabs that belt. And I know they don't like doing it much, but he grabs that belt. He's already beat a lot of the top people. Like, look at Ortega and all that. He's beat a lot of the top. The only thing that would maybe allow a little bit of difference is if Sterling did beat Ortega and Sterling had that shot, and then you would have Holloway versus Sterling. But I would love for... I'm not a big fan of Ilya. Like, his skills are great, but he's cocky, he's arrogant. I don't like it. I don't like the way he speaks, and I don't like how he's saying, if there's no BMF belt online, I'm not giving Holloway the fight. It's bullshit. He earned it. But I would love him to go down, beat Ilya. I don't know about Volkanovski. I know Volkanovski's going to be cracking on the door because he was the great. And
I think he needs some time off, though. I think the UFC recognizes that, and they're going to make him take some time off.
Yeah, but I would like him to see. I would like to see Ilya, and Ilya's saying he would love to fight the Sphere, right? Can you imagine Holloway versus Ilya at the Sphere?
I think that's what they want.
Yeah, in September, right? It's not too far away, man. Think about it. Logistically, it's not far. And if Holloway beats Ilya, what I really feel like, you see how poor your Islam goes, and then, to be honest, I really think they should. For Holloway, allow Holloway to have 2 belts, go up to the lightweight, and fight for the 3rd belt man, that would have been something that's nobody's ever done, right? Even to hold two belts, like the BMF and the featherweight, would be like a record breaking in a sense because nobody else has done it
Right.
besides double champs, right? But to go up to lightweight and get a third belt, ooh, man, I think Holloway has. He's number 3 in the lightweight rankings
So
now after
you
beating
think
Gaethje.
Holloway beats Ilya?
I do, man. I
Yeah.
do. I do. I think Ilya's a power puncher, and I think Ilya just. I think Volkanovski coming. I don't think Ilya would have beat Volkanovski if he didn't get knocked out by Islam and then jumped into that fight. I think Volkanovski would have wrecked him. I think after being knocked out by Islam, I think that he jumped too fast in that fight, didn't recover, didn't have enough time to train correctly. He probably was. He was probably in a concussion protocol for quite a while. He probably was suspended for a while from actually doing anything, right? So I think that if Alex didn't have that Islam fight and fought Ilya, I think Ilya would have lost, to be honest with you, because Alex is really great, and not just to be synonymous with his subtitle of a name, but I think Max Holloway, after what he did to Gaethje, can be Ilya. Gaethje.
I think he
Gaethje's.
can. I think it's possible, but I think Ilya wins that fight.
You think so, man? You
I
think
do.
so? You think Ilya is going to be the first one to knock out Holloway?
I don't know about knockout, but I think he'll beat him because I
Hopefully.
don't know about knocking Holloway out, man. That I don't know. I've seen that dude take shots that would have knocked anybody else out and just keep going.
And he's only 32, which is freaking nuts, man. Just to see how long he's been fighting, and he's only 32. Like he even said that to Ilya. Like
And he's
said
at the
to
top of his game right now. Like
yeah,
this
and he
is the
said to
best
Ilya
Holloway.
too. He's like, when I was your age, I had already defended my championship multiple times. I'm like,
Yeah.
oh shit, Holloway, look at you guys.
He was on fire for Ilya right after that fight. He wanted him. Like he probably would have fought him right then if they let him.
Well, he could have too. Yeah, he had a bad leg, but he with that adrenaline, like he probably could have went to war with Ilya again if it was like the old Pride rules where you fight in multiple times, or the original UFC you fought multiple times in the same night. Like, oh man, but no, I think it's gonna happen September. It would be great. I think they should capitalize on it. He is living in Spain. He's half Spanish, right, from Spain, and it's a Mexican Independence Day. It kind of. I know he's not Mexican, but to have a Spanish fighter on the card from the mainland, because that's where let's not get into history here of how that happened, but I think that would just be like great. And Holloway fighting in Las Vegas, he calls it the ninth island for a reason. He drives people, and look how many Hawaiian flags were flying, how many cheers he was getting, which is usual for him. But yeah, to have him have the first combat sports fight at the Sphere would just be, I think, beneficial for both of them in their careers. But I think it also gives props to Holloway and how much of a company man he's been for the last 10 years.
It was so cool to see all the different fighters react to Max Holloway's last second knockout. Like they had cameras on everybody, and it was great. Like they had Sugar Sean, they had his trainer Tim, they had Ilya. They had Ilya. Who else was standing next to Ilya?
Israel
Adesanya. They had all these guys, and like their faces were like, "Oh my god!" Everybody knew that they witnessed something that was never done before, and that was just crazy.
It was, man, and too, and that was a culmination. There's 2 more fights, but that was the culmination of all the fights that predated it too, as well. Like,
yeah,
we verbatim, it was taking recency bias out of the wazoo. It was one of the top 3 cards that's ever happened. It legitimately. 199 was great, and you could say 100 was great, but 300, man, was. You can even say 299 was great with Sugar and all them and that lineup.
I love that card.
But like 300, just like what they were able to do was just fantastic. And the only thing that makes me nervous is that they do have, they put a lot of their heavy hitters on that card. I wonder how the rest of the year is going to look. What are they going to stack on 302? What are they going to stack? But they still have to have DDP fight. I don't know who DDP is going to fight, to be honest with you. it's probably Israel. I think.
It's gonna be Israel.
Yeah,
Adesanya gets that title rematch.
which I don't understand why, man.
Why
He's
not?
lost that because he's lost that title 3 times. It would be 3 times or 2 times already, man.
But
Come
he got it
on.
back. You know what I mean? He did get it back, and then he lost it. I mean, this will be it
Yeah.
though. If he loses this, he's not seeing a title shot for a long time.
Yeah, that's even if he sticks around, to be honest with you. Or he
Yeah.
might even go up to light heavy and have that MMA trilogy with Alex. Who knows? Alex wanted it.
That'd be
I
fun
know
to see
it's.
it at light
I know
heavyweight.
it's.
That'd be fun to see.
I know it's cooled down a little bit, but like, man, like, yeah, I think. Plus, I think to be honest with you, Israel with his length and his height would probably fare much better in light heavy. He probably cuts so much weight to get to middleweight, so he's probably draining himself. Like, yeah, he's had phenomenal fights, but he's also had a lot of poor fights in middleweight. Like that Yo Ramiro fight was awful. Like
He's had some duds.
yeah, like he's had quite a few duds. Against Sean Strickland was a dud. Against Paul Acosta was a dud. Like, man, he's had some duds. Like, and talk about Yo Ramiro. Like, Yo Ramiro is hesitant, but he can put on some good fights. Look at him and Robert Whitaker. Like that's a classic. So, yeah, I don't know what I feel about DDP. I think DDP will murder Israel. To be honest with you, between his wrestling and his stand-up, he was a double champ in his organization before I came to UFC, and since he's been in the UFC, he's been on a tear. I think, like I said I think Sean Strickland did beat DDP, but that's a testament of how good Sean Strickland is. Yeah, he did lose to Alex. I think he got cocky in that fight. If he fought the way he fought against Israel, he could have probably beat Alex, right? I truly think that because of his defense, and he's a great fighter. But I don't know. Yeah, what was your favorite fight on 300 beside Holloway and Gaethje?
Probably the Oliveira fight.
Yeah.
It would have to be. That was just such an amazing fight. And I don't know, the Yuri fight was really good too. But I think Charles Oliveira. I think that was the fight for me before the BMF title.
Yeah, I would say Yuri Prochazka is mine. I think just like I said, I'm a big Yuri guy, but yeah, man, I 301 is going to be a dud. I don't plan to catch that at all. The only reason I would catch that. The 301 is a dud. Alex Pereira would have saved that card. Pantoja I like, but we have 302, which is probably going to be fire.
That's going to be a
303.
great card.
303 is International Fight Week. So I know they. So my suspicions is that they might not stack that card too much because Connor is a heavy toll to pay, right? He's making millions and millions and millions and millions of dollars. So I don't know how well they'll stack that card because he can sell that card alone, to be honest with you, between him and Chandler. So I wonder what we will see in the upcoming months for fight cards. Who's been silent too, which I'm not really too excited for if they do make the fight, but it's Belal Muhammad versus Leon Edwards. Not really too excited. I like Leon. I liked him knocking out Kamaru Usman because I was never a big Kamaru fan. But that Belal Muhammad fight does not excite me at all. Like, I do not like Belal Muhammad at all. He's another boring fighter in my opinion. Like, he's never had a really tremendous, extreme good fight.
Oh yeah.
And so matches, like I'm trying to think, who else they probably gonna have. I know they're doing
so they have the
Ultimate
ABC
Fighter right now. I think that's what Grasso versus Shevchenko. Valentina versus Grasso is gonna probably fight again. I do like Valentina Shevchenko. Always been a beast, the Bullet, right? So I'm trying to think of what other,
they have.
Of course,
the UFC is in a good position where they can stack any
when we're gonna
card.
get Jones versus Stipe. It's gonna happen.
I mean, with the recent stuff with John Jones and the Tester, I don't know when we're gonna see him again.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, can you hear me? Can you hear me at all? Yeah. Can you hear my audio at all?
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
You can?
Yeah. Yep.
I can't hear you for some reason.
That's weird. Let me see something. All right. I don't know if that worked. Might be the feed.
Let me
But
see.
anyway, it is 9:00.
I don't know why I can't hear you. So weird.
That's all right.
But
It's
to end it, I am excited for John's versus Stipe, as even though Stipe is an old person and hasn't fought in a while, but I think that is the greatest heavyweight in a very long time versus the greatest of all time. Debatable, of course, as you had said earlier, but that's gonna be a good fight.
That's going to be a really
gonna be
good
a good
fight. I
fight.
can't wait for that. It will be. But James, thank you for joining me, man. I don't know if you can hear me right now. With that, it's 9:00. We're going to sign off. I will have James on probably to preview the 301, I would think, because the fight night isn't going to be that great. But we will talk more in the upcoming times. James, I will message you. With that, I appreciate you guys for listening. Please be a friend, tell a friend. Follow us on all the social media apps, and have a good night.